Well, good morning. Um, we're going to start right in on the orange this morning, and I'm going to just do a little test here, make sure we've got a good picture. That's a little bit better. And quickly, this is what my palette looks like. Got my dark blues, which are ultramarine and raw umber over here. My orangey tannish colors right in the middle here. My greens are over here, blues. And what's left of my grays are right here. I'll have to mix up a little more light gray. So I'll start with that just by grabbing some white, which is already on my palette. I'll need more blue, a little bit of ultramarine blue, and some raw umber, which I might have to add to that as well. And the raw umber is right here. No, that's the blue. There it is. Okay, you can see all that. All right, so I'm going to grab some raw umber. I'll bring it over here, put it right there. I'm going to grab some blue, put it right there. Let me mix those together. And that's my dark mix. But when I add white to it, just start out a little bit of white at a time. Definitely not more. More white. And that's right about where I want to be, sort of in the middle between that dark gray and the light gray. Now I'm going to take some of that and I'm going to lighten it still. Get some more white in there, a little bit of white over here. That's nice. Now to that, I'm going to pick up a little bit of cadmium red medium. And that's a little bit. It warms it up. Maybe I'll do the same thing for this. Alright, so put the darks, we'll go from light to dark, so the progression will be very light, mid-light, more shade and shadiest. I see now. Alright. And probably don't need much more of that. Alright, so I'll put the camera back up here. Good. And we're still filming. Good. That's good. Well, I've been working on the cloth, fruit, eggs, the silver, and the background. Right now I want to do focus in on the egg, I'm sorry, on the orange and the eggs. So here we go. Get my brushes out. And I'll get my mediums together. see. All right, that's hard up, so I'm just gonna add glazing into this shallow tray and slow dry into the bigger tray. But the bigger tray has got some medium in it already. So let me use this one here instead. Good. A little bit, just a little bit, not too much. Got my mall stick ready. All right. I'm going to use the smaller round. This is the round I'm going to use. And I'm going to move the microphone in a little closer so that I'll be audible. Okay, let's go. I'm going to grab some glazing and I'm going to grab some of my orange, my mid-range orange color. Only because it's early in the morning. I don't know if I've even woken up yet, so I want to start out carefully. I wanted to sort of outline the orange. I wanted to pull the left edge of it out a little bit. It had lost its shape. So I'm using that mid-tone because some of that's going to be reflected light off of the tablecloth. But then it does go into shadow where it hits the tablecloth. So right in here, I'm bringing that, I see reflected light right into there. Good. And remember, it's an orange, so it's going to have some orange in it. Some orange color in it, I should say. Remember, it's an orange. It's not a tennis ball. Could be a tennis ball, but so far not. Okay. Now I just want to get a little more paint in there. That was the glaze that had the glazing in it, so it'll set up somewhat fast. But I need that too. Now see how there is a, well, there, not quite yet, but there'll be a highlight on this tablecloth, and that's going to rhyme with a highlight that of reflected light, I should say, reflected light off the orange. So there'll be a connection there. Okay? We'll get into that later. Sometimes when I'm painting, I'll get an idea like that, or I'll see, I'll have an insight, and I'll act on it right away so I don't forget about it. Although, and then also at this stage of the painting, you're going after completion. So everything you do now is how, in the beginning I would say, don't worry about it if it's a little off. You just want to get the idea down. But now it's like, yep, worry about, don't worry, but pay attention to every detail now. And really pay attention. Really dig in. Dig into the image. What's going on in this little corner here? How is that important? How much emphasis do you give it? So it's all, you start considering the whole now, because you've danced over all of the elements of the image, and you've danced over all of those elements several times already. that's what my process is about. A little hard to explain at the beginning, but I think that now we're on the other side of it. Each foray into maybe making a stab here or a stab there or a line here and not worrying too much about it and then moving on to that. That was sort of the initial marshaling your forces stage, getting everybody on the stage, getting them in their places, and giving everyone their script. And then in the middle stage, you want everybody to know their script, you know. So the oranges know their oranges, the eggs know their eggs, the silver can knows the silver can, etc., etc. In that stage, you know, things are starting to come together. Not everybody remembers their lines. Um, some people are still reading from the script. Maybe the background doesn't have the right lighting correct yet, etc., etc. But now we're in the final stage, and the final stage is it. It's showtime. And it's a great, um, it's a great, um, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a great time in the painting. I think it's, well, you know, I think the beginning of a painting is fun. And so, that's very bright. The beginning of the painting is fun, and maybe the middle of the painting is trying to think of what if there are three how to describe it. All right, I think I have a metaphor in my head. So, let's say the beginning of the painting is a fun that's physical, like you're going sliding. The middle of the painting, you're taking that sled and you're walking it back up the hill. Still great to be outside. You're loving the fresh air, you know, but you're also carrying something uphill. And then the third stage of the painting is you're going down again on the sled. But you've already gone down once, you know where the fast parts are, you know the route. And now you go down with style. There's my metaphor, okay? 3 stages of painting. All right, there we go. See, so back with the orange again. And I am now trying to accomplish the action part of what I just said. So I'm looking really close at the orange. I'm seeing a little bit of shadow right in there. I'm thinking that's probably where the stem is. But because I'm so, you know how this photograph is slightly on the hazy side, it's not exactly apparent at first. And it does, I see why I was, that comes like this, and that comes like that. And there's also a little bit of halo over there. So, you know, small amounts of paint on the brush, and just ever so gently move it across. Now, it's still wet, so I'm pulling some of the paint, so I'll have to come back to it. So, as I often liken the act of making a painting as being similar to an orchestra conductor, where you have to have to keep the whole thing in your head, and you have to bring all the elements into play at the right time. And you got to keep it all in your head, really, because if you've done your work right, you before you started painting, you've sat before the painting with a piece of paper and a pencil, and you've made notations of where you hope to go. And so when you make those notations, they subliminal, there's a word that's hard for me to say. Subliminally, they will be reinforced because you've written it down. You've looked, you've analyzed, you've written it down, which helps to reinforce it in your head. So that when you actually go to the painting and the symphony is going on, you're prepared. You know where you are, and you're prepared. All right. So I'm going to have to highlight here. I want to get that subtle gradation of tint. Definitely a little bit of highlight right in there. All right. Now the orange over here has that same kind. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Let's see, where am I at the time? 8:35. So you have to go with a medium. If things aren't drying quickly, then you have to wait between layers. It's so much nicer when you don't have to wait, when it becomes this sort of continuous activity, where the flow of your inspiration stays strong and steady. Okay. So I'm using that mid-orange here to edge out the orange. Edge up, by edge out I mean to to permanently stay. Here's the edge. Here's the shape. Bringing it into focus now. But again, I'm going to add a little bit of white. I've just got some white right next to that mid-orange. So I just kind of blend it in with my brush a little bit. Very little paint on my brush. as I look at that, I see it gets the highest amount of reflection on it right here, which is where it comes closest to the pot. But then there's also a great deal of lightness right there, and there's just the tiniest little bump. Now, what I was just thinking, I don't want my edges of the oranges to be very hard and crisp, because I think that a slight haze to the edge makes it look more realistic, makes it feel more like an orange, makes it feel more like the painting. That's the painting I'm doing. Now, some of you are getting very hard-edged with your objects. And so, that's the direction you're going off in. And what I would suggest is, if you're exploring that, take it as far as you can go. Take it as far as you can go. Until it doesn't make sense anymore, or until it makes complete sense. Again, I'm going after a softer edge to all the objects in this painting. All these objects have a soft edge to them. Okay, so as I get this light onto here, I'm thinking it's almost a little too white. And I need more color. But we'll let that go. I'm going to grab some raw umber, and I'm going to add a little bit of cadmium red to it. See what we get. Right in here, I've got some raw umber and some cadmium red. Now I've got this reddish mauve sort of color. I'm going to add some ultramarine blue in there. And I'm going after a kind of gray that's going to make the orange pop. I want a color that is opposite the orange, which would make it, I guess, opposite of orange is purple. Let's see, so I may want to even add just a little. I don't want. Now this is like you can't be Captain Obvious on this. It's got to be ever so subtle. But I'm using the opposite color of orange in this case, which would be a purple. Just speaking very broad strokes. But I'm trying to come up with a gray, or the shadow color that you see in the orange, in the deepest parts where the shadow is the strongest. I know I've got a shadow under here. See, what I don't want to happen is that I go with a kind of muddy brown. Jeez. I feel like the painter walked off the edge of the scaffolding here sometimes with my ball stick. Now I'm going to try to blend that gray in. It's right around in there. I want the brush strokes to follow I want the brush strokes to follow the curve of the orange. Kind of like you going with the grain, so to speak. Now let me just see if I can. Okay. So one way to keep that fuzziness quality up is to almost be painting with a dry brush. Okay, it's 8:44, 15 minutes. All right, so now I see I've got the tone more where I want it, but I want to bring out the orange, so I'm going to add some red, cadmium red again, to my mid-tone orange. Got some glazing in there, and just going to add that color in here and there where I see it sort of, comes out because the light is just right. You're going to have some red right here where it's closest to you because, the warmer colors bring things forward. Now I'm going to go over that part I blended with some of this orangey, reddish orangey again. And so what I meant about an orchestra conductor is, as how can I say, like if you're just a painter, then you're just putting down color because that's what they told you to do, right? They want this color here, they want this color there. But as the conductor, you have to remember that if you put this color down first and then you put the second color down on top of it, you're going to get a result that is greater than just the sum of the two colors. That's what I'm talking about. That's the idea I have in my head about that analogy. So. Now that color I laid in there earlier is starting to set up now. I'm able to blend it without without pulling the color right off the surface. All right, I'm going to grab some of that again. It's not the right. It gets kind of light in here too. Now to get that highlight so that it looks, has that orange peel feel, a little more of the brightest highlight color that I'm using here. And here's where you can just lay it on pretty opaquely, but again, just in a small area. And then maybe with these kind of strokes, which is you come in on the corner, go move about quarter of an inch, no, eighth of an inch, and lightly just dance over. Remember, so I keep seeing this highlight here, reflected light. It gets a little bit bright right in here, and it comes down right about there. Okay, so that's the orange. Not done with it, but I see more red. Just gotta get a little lighter. All right. All right. Maybe a little bit of white. This is where squinting comes in. If you just squint at the image that you're looking at, so that you don't see detail so much as broader planes. It helps you sometimes to see the broader patterns that the light makes on top of the surface. I'm going to get a little orangey here. I'm going to add some cadmium yellow, cadmium red, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium red light together. So more of the yellow. Cadmium yellow medium, cadmium red light. All right, that's my alarm telling me it's time to wrap this up. And then I'm going to bring that high color, this value is, you know, lots of orange. And I'm going to bring it in to where all the light surfaces are. Just kind of lightly go over that. And this is how you can do some blending with acrylics too. Another way. I want those edges here to be very soft. Same thing here. Gotta be careful because the orangey will clash with the red. No, I just got a brush with no paint on it, just some water, and I'm just trying to even out those planes of color so that they're not, yeah, that's all. Not so, what's the word, variegated. I want to take some of that yellow and squish that around in there. Okay, now, is that purple I made? Using the purple in here, I'm getting the underside of that orange. Okay. All right. Why don't we stop here, and then I'll continue on in a few